It's Monday morning on Jasiri, and we're starting the week with history, heritage, and a whole lot of purpose. Imagine being elected into public office at just 22, standing tall in spaces where people like you were never expected to lead. Today, we speak to a trailblazer rewriting the rules of leadership, bridging cultures, and proving that age, background, and legacy can all come together to shape a new kind of politics that's bold, inclusive, and unapologetically Black and British-born, but with Nigeria in her roots. You want to stay tuned for this, but first...
ladies, how was your weekend? I miss you, Blessings, so much. Our baby. It's been so hard without you. Catherine was so unruly. And Tolu had to go and take her tooth out. She almost made herself toothless. She has denture now.
I don't have dentures now.
No, she doesn't.
I don't.
That's me gossiping on a high level.
What's wrong with you?
It's not even true.
She's catching up to speed.
What do we call gossip?
Like,
Gossip that is a lie. Fake news.
I'm spacing
We call her misinformation.
That's what we call. But do you know that is how Nigerians exaggerate everything? I'm sure everybody saw this drama that went on this weekend. The Ashkanin girl.
Ashrakan.
Ashkanin.
We've gone through this before. Look, Ashrakan.
Ashkanin. Whatever. They don't pay me, so I don't have to pronounce it. Ashkanin. All those things. I just worry for this generation, honestly. And I'm like, the things that we now use our time
To do.
It's really worrisome. Yeah. It's really worrisome. I went all the way to Ondo State for a burial party. It was a massive party. I like the fact that Nigerians know how to. I don't know, maybe somebody should correct me. I think Nigerians are the most stylish people in Africa.
I think so too.
The way we turn out, Tolu, even in the interiors. Men now have funny new cap shapes that is more, extensive than what the normal Abetiaja or that one that stands
normal filler.
Normal filler. Now they have all sorts of shapes. I even saw a guy that used to do something like a beret. And I found out that it's like a Taraba State style. They have this head cap they wear that looks like a beret, but for men. It was quite cute to watch. But another thing that was really horrifying are the roads. Tolu, when you're applying some of our interlands, if you are not a good driver, that is why you see accidents on the road, because people that are not conversant
with those places.
So it's even safer to take PT than go with an untrained.
Because they understand.
They know the road. They know the lay of the
I had
roads.
to ask the guy driver and say, how do you know this road? Because if they kept going from this lane to that lane, we're all going on this lane, which is supposed to be the lane that goes forward, and this is bringing. You just see a cut on the road to go this way. Some roads are being fixed, really, but I'm wondering why it's taking us forever to do something basic as federal roads. These are not even state roads.
So this whole conversation about federal and states, I understand that federal roads, I understand state roads, I understand what supposedly should be local government, Kenny. But sometimes I wonder, are you just going to sit back and watch the residents of your state suffer because it is federal road? And I know there was a point in time that states could fix the road and get the money back. Or even if you're not going to do that, maybe you don't trust federal. Is it not possible to do even remedial work so that your people do not suffer?
They fly these same roads. So I think it's just come and say they've accepted it. That is how the roads are.
No, Captain, I beg to differ. They don't fly the roads. They fly over it.
Yeah, exactly. I was going to say fly over
it. Because if they're not in their helicopters, I wonder if like Ogun State, which is my home state, I feel bad. Because I can't lie to you. I knew when the road changed, when we left Ogun State axis, I could see a little bit of difference. And I'm like, why do we have to wait forever to do what is right? And nobody should tell me nothing. You see this Lagos that all of us crucify so much. This still is indeed the commercial hub of the nation. I've had the privilege of going to Oyo. I've had the privilege of going to Ondo. Catherine, do you know how expensive those states are?
As in, when you say expensive,
as in to buy food, to commute, transportation, the cost of living. You'll be like, these are people that should be doing farm to table. Why is Gary so expensive? Why is oil so expensive? Why is transportation so expensive?
Why do you think that is, though? Do you think they're trying to compete with?
I think it's because they don't have so much competition.
And
so most
commerce,
of the
a lack of
people-
commerce.
So a lot of people want to just get as much as they can when they get it.
How did we arrive here?
A lot of ways.
A lot of ways. We're talking about what happened during the weekend. I was just giving you my own blue account of the party and on those days that I went. So, Kathy, what did you do?
You really had an eventful weekend.
Well, would I say eventful? Well, I still did Jasiri on Friday. I left after the show.
And we're on the road.
Yes, I was on the road all day.
What time did you get there?
Let's say 5-ish. And I
So
left
safe
like
to
maybe
say that
1-ish.
because
Like,
That's what I was your weekend.
Yeah.
The weekend was okay. It was a work weekend. So I really didn't have, I didn't have time for personal at all.
I saw
I said
you
to myself,
stepping into a
I'm going to make
character.
my hair, I'm going to do this for where.
I saw you stepping into a character, a very nice looking.
Wow.
We look forward to seeing the
That
character.
doesn't look anything like you. She has
No.
white hair, she has glasses. I said, see my girl, look. He was different. That you were doing TikTok. I said, and I got
It was during a break. You know how they're not shooting your scene, so
Yeah.
you just find one
But the
corner.
house was really pretty. I
It
saw
was
the
pretty.
chandelier
I
at the
just found
bar.
one corner to sit and see. I never do these things. Let me
Honey,
just get busy.
and I rejoice with you for private reasons. You know I love you so much. Every
We
time,
rejoice with
every
you
time
for
God comes
private
through.
reasons.
God comes through for us.
You
And
know?
then, who can battle with the Lord?
Sometimes, you know, there's a saying that there's oftentimes grace in silence. I don't
Yes.
always believe it, but in this situation, the silence is speaking so much.
Very loud. But we're your
Sorry.
friends. We shall sing.
Blessings, how was your weekend?
Listen, we're supposed to talk about black excellence.
We'll get there in just
My
a
weekend
moment.
was good. I was deliberate about not doing anything. So I
Yes,
was just on the
yes,
bed,
yes.
doing nothing. There was a time, I think 2 p.m., I heard a knock on my door. I did not stand up because my policy is, if you don't call, don't come. Right? So honestly, it was just a chill
So did
week.
You will do so well abroad.
No, I didn't.
didn't
ordered.
cook?
No, I didn't.
You ordered in.
I
How is that
have been
possible?
cooking. Nobody on this table has given.
So you deserve some.
Because I wasn't aware when I was away on vacation.
Bro,
they
the
lied
effort-
to me that blessing.
No, I
has
said
been
it.
Bringing food.
She's been bringing food.
So she won grapes.
Do you know what? I don't know what, but
Wait, we need to tell you that story. Blessings opened her flask, her
I
water.
know
Such a
that's
big
what the reason
thing.
why.
Do you know what this guy did? Instead
No,
of putting grapes in a separate container, she had kept it together. She warmed the rice. The grapes too were warm.
But
It's like she was trying to speed the fermentation process. Because I was like, why are these grapes warm?
Anytime Blessing gets something funny, and you know she does a lot of rubbish buying. I know it's this flask they plug.
Yeah.
That's the attraction for this thing.
You can just plug it in and run your food.
We are missing that. How come we are no longer cooking? The flask is at the back of the cupboard.
She's had a stressful week.
No, it's
She's had a
stressful. I would resume.
All right, before we quickly move on, I didn't do anything. I just did egusi and fried rice. I'm back to back.
Can you imagine?
I just want you to feel bad because
I can't.
today I'm going to make attempts to really beg you to bring food for me.
No, she said she would bring brownies
Yeah,
next week.
no, to make a granite.
I've not forgotten.
That one for a bar rice.
Okay, I think.
I don't know. Things have just really
let's
changed
take
because I
an
remember when
order
Tolu used to bring food for
let's
us.
give another nice to
Let's
me.
send the order to Mr. B.
No, Mr.
So that
B
he
is
can
such a
put
good
it-
Lolo,
Yes.
we have other things to do.
Yes, please. You know, usually Tolu will say but first. But since you didn't say but first, I will say it. This is not but first. We had got into other things before this one.
So this is but second.
But second. Today's show is given Black excellence. It's given global recognition. It's given Naija no dey carry last. Never, 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 never. And when we say we know they carry last, we mean it literally. This morning, we're shining the spotlight on a Nigerian doctor whose story has not only gone viral, but it has been shaking tables and rewriting history in the U.S. medical space. This is the kind of story that makes you want to stand up and salute. But in this case, you might want to lie flat on the floor and say, you know those things that in Yoruba, you're not burst into tongues or eulogizing. Because one son of the soil, that is probably my cousin that I've never
Oh
met.
my God.
Dr. Timileyin Oluseyi, I almost said a young Yoruba.
Just say it.
Yes, a young Yoruba Nigerian medical doctor in the United States has just done the unthinkable by sweeping all 8 awards at his residency graduation. I mean, every single thing, all 8. That means they can call it Oluseyi, best in this, Oluseyi, best in that, and all the other colleagues had to do what? I mean, they said this feat has never been achieved before in the institution's history.
Okay, I'm so happy I didn't give you the rest of this to say.
Honestly, Grandma is being so dramatic. But it's one thing. I mean, why do you think I'm wearing white? To represent Dr. Oluseyi.
Of course. You can be sure. Forget this set. Never.
All right, so Dr. Oluseyi didn't just outperform his peers, he redefined the standard, excelling across every category. I'm talking clinical excellence, leadership, research contributions, academic achievement, compassionate patient care. We are empathetic in Nigeria. Interpersonal communication skills, professionalism, as well as overall resident of the year. And what makes this moment even more remarkable is that he's the first Black doctor in the program's history to do so. But here's the part that warmed my heart the most. His program director and department chairman went the extra mile to honor him, not with just a plaque or a handshake, but by prostrating flat on the ground in traditional Yoruba fashion. Yes, they researched our cultural significance of the act and decided that's Inkoto Tony. That was the most respectful way to acknowledge his greatness. Now, in a light-hearted show of admiration, his colleagues also surprised him with a wheelbarrow, jokingly telling him it was to help carry all the awards.
I really want him to know that we're close. We're close. I really wish it's something that we could see. It is not. It is so hard work that it is not impossible to do. It's not. If you're committed to the cause and just allow your light shine, be your authentic self in all you do.
I'm sure
they were calling. Okay, so the award for the something they would call him. I'm sure the award for something they would call him.
Yeah. So it's not impossible, but it's a huge feat. Do you know the level of focus,
dedication, sacrifice? It's not just dedication; it's sacrifice.
Yes, and you know, I'm actually impressed because you know we're hearing things like personal something care. There's some people that are just laser focused. I don't care about anything. I just want to do this, do that. But he's all round.
Wholesome individual.
And you know what?
I hope he's still single. Maybe bless him.
Oh no, he didn't go there.
I might have details for you tomorrow because I'm doing some under G work. You know I like to do under G work.
Nigeria, please let me take his hand. Let him speak to him.
Beyond that, I also think, it's just a beautiful thing to say. We do so much bad news. I told the producers this morning, I said, is there anything nice? Like, even me, I was the one who said some of the bad stories. I was like, we're going to have this lady. I don't want to have, can we do something that just is just about warmth?
Because whether we like it, sometimes the bad, because of how deep and dire things are, that it stays with you. The honesty, it's heavy. There's a heaviness that you carry. You probably would shake it up, but it sort of lingers. Sometimes you come here and you say, isn't there no good news around the world?
Sometimes I don't care about around the world. Given the unfortunate expectations of immigrants and given the unfortunate reputation that Nigeria can have, I don't care about bad news from around the world. I want to see a Nigerian outside or even inside doing something good. You just want to have, I just want to say a Nigerian name in a good context.
Yes, in a good context.
Yeah, totally. And
did I see what?
There was a story I saw too. I just saw it fleetingly this morning. It wasn't good, Shadow. You know, we have to really be careful because now that we're carrying our trade outside, I know that one of our top ladies in business carried our trade outside. But people need to know that there are visa categories. You know? And
that story.
Many people forget that now they look at our social media. So if you are traveling on a category of visa that is non-working, you can't earn money. They might actually refuse your entry.
Yes, whether we like it or not, I think it's a conversation we must have on this table that one must be intentional about everything. We say, yes, it's intentional. You have to be intentional the way you live and the choices that you make. But now we have to be intentional about even how we interact on social media.
Yes.
Across all social media platforms.
People are even talking about people getting dummy phones, having a very safe account, so that there's a safe account tied to this dummy phone.
Yeah.
So you can continue to do the madness you want with your own
or your
phone, but
name.
when you know they're going to ask, because you're filling out these things now, they're asking for your social media history.
But why do we have to have bad character Nigerians? Why?
No, it's not so bad. I don't think it's necessarily bad character.
You know, it's
So
just like-
we're talking around the issue, but given the Trump administration, they're not just looking for people who are claiming to go for tourism but want to go and work, as the situation that we saw this weekend, apparently. But they're also looking for people who are somewhat anti-Trump. So it's not just about bad character. Right now, we don't know the, I'm looking for the modus operandi, because it changes from day to day. It changes from day to day.
We just hope you're not the one that will be unfortunate, that your own story will now be the one that will teach other people.
Our guest is here.
All right, so it's time to take a break. Our guest is just history walking. She stepped into politics at an age where most of us, we're still trying to figure out our path. Now, guess what? She wears the mayoral chain with pride, with purpose, and with power. When we come back from this break, we sit down with a history maker who's not just representing a borough, but reshaping the narrative. Councillor Princess Bright, Mayor of the London Borough of Barking and Dagenham, is here. You're watching Jasiri. Don't go anywhere.
She entered politics at the age of 22, not by accident, but by conviction, inspired by legacy, grounded in service, and fueled by a bold vision of representation. Now, today's guest is living proof that leadership doesn't wait for permission. God, I love that. She carries two cultures, British and Nigerian, and wears them both with pride. Now, as the first citizen of one of London's most diverse boroughs, she's breaking ground, breaking norms, and showing that identity can be a strength, not a stumbling block. From being raised by a mother who made history herself to stepping into her own spotlight, she's become a voice for the unheard, a bridge for communities, and a reminder that age, background, or authenticity, did I say authenticity, or ethnicity, I beg your pardon, should never limit one's place at the table. Now, in her first interview, did you hear me? I said her first, literally she came off the plane and came here. In her first interview here in Nigeria, today on Jasiri, we sit down with a leader who's not just making space, she's making history. Ladies, let's welcome Councillor Princess Bright, Mayor of the London Borough of Barking and Dagenham, to the show. Welcome. Please, how are we supposed to address you?
Your councillorship, ma.
Councillorship. How are we supposed to address you? Madam Mayor. I love it. Oh my God, I love it.
I'm so excited. Like,
Oh, God.
I don't think she's related to you, Lolo.
no, I know we're not related, but you know, both of us just stepped off British soil, literally. At least I can't be lying about that. I just came from the UK.
No, you just came from Ondo, actually.
I still went to UK before all of you just
Came
here.
back to us.
So sorry.
Yeah.
Can we move on?
Yes, please. Madam Mayor, I'm so excited to, be sitting next to your royalness today. I know your political career began at 22 when you were elected as a councillor, and there's a family legacy of politics and political engagement. What would you say inspired you to enter public service at such a young age, and what challenges did you face earlier on? Because there must be, definitely. Because at 22, a lot of people are still trying to figure their
What were you
lives
doing
out.
at 22?
Yeah.
I love this.
Thank you. Thank you very much. So as you've mentioned, yes, my first public office position was at the age of 22 when I was elected as a councillor in the London Borough of Barking and Dagenham, so the youngest councillor that the borough has ever had. But prior to that, my experience in public office started over 2 decades ago, inspired by my mother.
Because see, it's not just me. Blessings. I want to say how 2 decades ago is 20 years. How?
You just kicked me out of existence. Yes, I was very young. I was 9, 10 at that time, and that was the time when my mum was first getting into local politics. So she was campaigning to become a councillor back then. And out of my siblings, I was the only one who was interested in what my mother was doing. So the little that I knew back then, whether it was putting leaflets in doors, knocking on doors, just emphasizing the fact that I'm there supporting my mother, I was able to gain that intangible experience and seeing how she led with such a selfless spirit. That gave me more of the qualities that I knew I needed to embed as a person in public service myself. And then in 2006, my mum was then the civic mayor of the London Borough of Hackney, so the position that I hold now, she held it in 2006. Wow. And I was her consort. So when I say consort, I was the lady that was with her everywhere she went. So whether it's ceremonial events, charity events, I was with her. And that is when I'd say the real passion for politics grew, because I saw my mother being the first citizen of Hackney, that borough, and I just saw the respect, what she did, how she raised funds for charity, and just how she put herself out there for the community. And then we progressed while I was in school, sixth form university. I held up many leadership positions like deputy head girl, course representative. And that for me, I'd say, was where my experience really grew, moving on to being a councillor and then a mayor of the most diverse borough, I say, in London.
You were prepared for this role. So
yes.
Were you nervous at any time, or anxious, or worried at all, or doubted yourself even?
There were definitely times when I did doubt myself, mainly because of my age, and because in the UK, if you just look at the typical politician, how they look, their age, is not really common for a young woman of colour. To one, get into politics, but also to rise up in politics so quickly. I mean, I've served as a councillor now for 7 years, so I've really given the time. For 7 years I've served as a councillor, yes.
So when you're speaking with your, you know how we are, the culture thing here, how we relate to our elders.
Yes.
You know, how do, there are older people that you call them our elders here, senior people.
Yes.
How do they interact? They call it Madam Mayor, and there seems not to be an issue, and
no issue at all.
It's cultural context.
No issue at all.
You can't say, who is she, this small girl, calling me by my name? Why do you call me that boy? Who is she to call me? So that's why, whether there wasn't any discomfort.
No, I think because of the ceremonial aspect of the role, being the mayor, regardless of your age, that respect is there. It's held in high esteem in the UK. So for me, it's just having the right people who are understanding of my role and supporting the vision, but also respecting the fact that regardless of my age, I'm there by merit and also by God's grace.
It's respecting the position.
Yes.
Okay, speaking of cultural context, right, how important would you say that your family's Nigerian background has been in building your values and your sense of service?
That's a really great question. And for me, I say this, and I said this in my acceptance speech, how proud I am of my heritage. My parents were both born in Nigeria. They moved over.
I'm sorry. Please go ahead.
Yes, they're both born in Nigeria, and then obviously moved to the UK. I was born and raised in the UK. But that aspect of the resilience, the drive, the dedication, the hard work that I've seen my parents do, and I would say is mainly because they've always said to me that regardless of who you are and where you've come from, you can achieve and you are successful. And if we look in the UK, there are so many Nigerians in that's where I say who are doing amazing things, breaking barriers on a daily basis, on a weekly basis. And for me, I'm just proud to be one of those people and holding up that front. I'm proud, and I say this everywhere, that yes, I live in the UK and I'm representing residents in the UK, but I'm proud of my heritage, and it's important for people to know my roots, where I'm coming from, to see that Nigerian blood is in me, and it keeps me going. But to my residents in Barking and Dagenham, like I said, it's a very diverse borough, multicultural. I'm there to serve all, and I've made that very known. But of course, being Nigerian is also very important to me. It's something I'm proud of.
I like your mayoral. It reminds me of like pirates.
Yeah.
I want to sneak this in before we go for a break, because we want to try to shift gears when we continue the conversation. So you're British you call yourself full British, but you're British-Nigerian. You identify that way.
Yes.
In terms of navigating this dual identity in your political role, how do you think that influences your approach to leadership and even community engagement?
I think for me, emphasizing the dual citizenship is very important because it enables me to be able to connect with my residents well. Yeah. Because when I say we're a diverse borough, when they hear that, they understand we're a diverse borough, and this mayor as well, she has a lot to her in terms of her background. Yeah. So therefore, they're able to reason with me when I'm saying I want to make sure that we can do X, Y, Z, make sure that the culture of our borough comes together. We see the culture, we celebrate the culture. Yeah. They can understand that I'm not just saying it, but I'm believing in it, I'm doing it because of my heritage as well, and I've made that very known. So if we think about this year in terms of my mayoral year ahead, there are so many plans that I have to really bring culture together, celebrate culture, and make sure that the residents, regardless of their background, they know that they can be celebrated and they can be proud of where they're coming from.
Oh, wow. All right, we're going to take a quick break, and we continue this conversation after this. We have Councillor Princess Bright with us, Mayor of the London Borough of Barking and Dagenham. She's still with us, and we're going to get into more conversations around contributions of immigrants, as well as looking at this conversation around UK and Nigeria and being a bridge builder. Stay with us.
You're still watching Jasiri, and she's British, Nigerian, and boldly breaking barriers. Today's guest is redefining what leadership looks like in one of London's most diverse boroughs. On Jasiri, we meet the woman making power look purposeful. Councillor Princess Bright is the mayor of London Borough of Barking and Dagenham. Now, the UK has long been home to a vibrant Nigerian community, with London at the heart of that experience basically. As the first citizen of one of the city's most dynamic boroughs, how do you see your role in representing not just, the constituents, but also the hopes of contributions from Nigerian and other immigrants communities across the UK? Now it's even more diverse and more dense, because now we in Nigeria will call it Jakpa. But I know that all across the African continent, the UK has seen an influx of different people from different places in Africa. So I'm sure Barking and Dagenham is not different. Mm-hmm. So how do you want to navigate the challenges of everybody being represented?
So as I mentioned, one thing that I'm lucky is the fact that I've served in this borough for 7 years, and I understand the borough. I understand how diverse the borough is. And even as a councillor, so before becoming the mayor and winning the election, during my time as mayor, I've had to serve constituents from diverse backgrounds. And that means dealing with issues that affect people, whether it's issues to do with schooling, whether it's issues to do with education, whether it's issues to do with like starting up their businesses, whatever it is, I've had to be at the forefront of those changes. Now, in the role as mayor, the role of mayor is seen as a ceremonial role. So the role focuses a lot on the celebrations of our individuals, the people of our different cultures and backgrounds. So in my role as mayor, I'm keen to make sure that whichever culture or whichever background individuals are from, they feel like they're celebrated. So whether that's Independence Days, whether that's Black History Month, whether that's whatever we can do in the borough to make sure that people feel like they're heard and their voices matter is very important to me. I recently put a committee together. So the committee will be supporting my mayoral year because I can't run this year alone.
All by yourself.
And there are different roles within that committee which will look into the different segments of the borough to make sure that I say no one is left behind. So one of the key roles that I've got an individual on my committee is a community engagement lead. So what they will be doing is on the ground in the community, getting the feedback, finding out what it is that my constituents want, but not just my constituents, individuals who are coming into Barking and Dagenham, what is it that they want to see? Whether it's, I don't know, greater access to housing, whether it's better opportunities to start up businesses, whether it's whatever it is, finding out what it is and taking that back to the change makers. Because bearing in mind, my role is very ceremonial. So in terms of making the policy changes, etc., there is a little bit more of in terms of steps for that to happen. I can't just click a finger and that's done. But as I mentioned, having that committee together is really, really important for me, because it means that they can be the eyes and ears of the community, bring this information back to me to make sure that we can action those changes where we can and where feasible.
Beautiful. I mean, I love the initiative, and I like that you've put the committee together, and you know, they're trying to feel the pulse of the people.
Yes.
And it goes without saying that you also understand, you know, what people are going through, and that brings me to my question about Nigerians in the UK. Right. So while the committee are trying to fish out some of the other problems, what are the challenges that you have noticed or that are so prominent that Nigerians and other immigrant families are still facing in London today, especially in the areas like Barking and Dagenham?
So in Barking and Dagenham, I would say some of the key areas is access to affordable housing. That's a key area, and we know that, especially obviously if you're someone who has been based abroad and you're coming into the UK, trying to navigate the system, understanding how to get onto the housing register, for instance, how to get a job, how to upskill yourself, the training that you need to get the right kind of jobs. So for me, I think one area that, and I've made it very clear that's very important to me, is looking at skills training. What are some of the trainings that we can put together for individuals who have just come abroad, who are normally very skilled, but they just don't have the right people, the right connections, the right areas that they can tap into, hone in on those skills. Something that I'm really passionate about is education. I mean, even besides my politics, I graduated with first class in accountancy. I did my ACCA, I qualified as an accountant, and I understand the importance of education in terms of taking you to where you want to be in life. So thinking of trying to how we can strike partnerships with organizations who can help put on training for individuals who may be very skilled, but once again, just lack the connections that will help them get the right skills, to get the right jobs, to keep progressing. Because imagine coming from a country where you don't know much, and you come into a borough like Barking and Dagenham, which is very diverse. There's a lot of opportunities, but if you don't know what the opportunities are, it's hard for you to be able to benefit for them. Another thing is using social media. I say this a lot because once again, there's a lot of opportunities that we have that we're trying to bring into Barking and Dagenham. But if those opportunities are not put out there publicly, how would individuals know what there is that they can tap into? And for me, I'm trying to leave a legacy this year during my mayoral year to make sure that people are hearing, they're seeing, and they're tapping in so that they can also continue to increase and broaden their horizon. Because I think it's important. We have a lot of skilled people in Barking and Dagenham, but without the connections, it's impossible for them to thrive.
You know, I like the fact that you say about people being seen and heard, because that's the next point I want us to look at in terms of the fact that we know that representation matters. And I don't know how many young girls of color, seeing you in your regalia and seeing you make all these strides, have just taken a different look at politics, at the possibility of being politically involved. But do you feel that Nigerians and other black communities are now being heard? Because the UK is one of the most diverse places, and London is a hub, as we said earlier, but there's, even around the world, it seems like there's a pushback against globalization and the pushback against diversity, and it's a difficult place and time to be. So do you think that there is a difference in how black communities, Nigerian communities, immigrant communities overall are being heard in UK politics, or is there still a long way to go?
I would say there's still a way to go. I wouldn't say long way to go. And the reason why I say that is, even if we just think of the London boroughs right now, we've obviously all had elections for various mayors. There's been about 5 or 6 mayors of us. There's even Councillor Jackson in Islington. He's a Nigerian guy who was elected as mayor. So in UK politics, there are a lot of us, and we are taking up our positions. But what I think needs to be done better is us coming together. Because what we do see is, there's a lot of us who want positions, but if we're not supporting each other to get there, we're then going against each other. If we're divided, it's very impossible for us to achieve. And that's one thing I would say as a, not really Nigerian community, but just as a community in general, individuals who are not born and raised in the UK, it's always harder for us because it is not our own system. We are coming into another system. So where we need to be strategic and smart is having the right people, building teams that can encourage and support people to go forward. So luckily for me, as I said, in Barking and Dagenham, it's a diverse borough. I've had the support of my MP. I've had the support of the leader. Why? Because I've supported others as well. So I think if you don't give, how do you expect to receive? And that's also another thing. There are a lot of people who really want to go far in politics, but they're not willing to go out and support anyone else. When there are key elections that take place in the UK, I'm there on the doorstep. I'm visible, I'm seen. So in order for you to hold up those positions, for me personally, I would say you really need to be that person who's lending a helping hand to someone else. But regardless of that, even if we look in the UK, we've got black MPs, we've got Nigerian MPs, we've got Nigerian politicians, Nigerian councillors, Nigerian mayors. There is a lot of us. We've even got association of British-Nigerian.
I love it.
Yeah, there is a lot of us, and we're building that community. But that community needs to be stronger because, like I said, it's like we're fighting a battle against the unknown, should I say.
Do you think that that's bad behavior that is just typically Nigerian? Because seeing that there are a few Nigerians you guys have started this path, it would be awesome that everybody can work together because you are getting somewhere.
Yes.
And the force is stronger
Yes.
when there are more people. So what do you think, this is me deviating from my next question, but I just had to jump on that.
Yes.
What do you think is a problem that we're facing? Is it bad? Is it really Nigerian thing, or is just?
I wouldn't say it's a Nigerian thing. I just think it's everyone wants to have power. Everyone wants to have a name. Everyone wants to achieve and be successful, which is fine. But when you're doing that at the detriment of someone else's success or putting someone else down to get there, that is where the issue is.
That's the Nigerian thing. That's a mistake.
Because we are bad what we were known for.
Don't worry, dear Madam Mayor. I'm saying that
I think it might be different for Madam Mayor because she was born and raised in the UK.
Yes.
Maybe she didn't get a drink of the bad habit.
But tell us, I mean, how do you balance serving this entire diverse constituency of yours and maintaining being a source of pride to the Nigerian diaspora? You know how we like to say, it's one of us that is there. It's our daughter of the soil. So how do you maintain that? I mean, I don't see you as somebody, I see you as someone who knows how to manage pressure. But let me just ask, how do you do with the balance of serving the entire constituency while being a source of pride and representation for it?
I mean, it's not easy because the Borough of Barking and Dagenham are claiming me, and they're saying this is our own, which is good.
Yes.
Nigeria, I said it in my acceptance speech, I'm proud of my heritage. Nigeria is also claiming that she's one of ours, but that balance needs to be, because one thing, and I said this, or I have said it a few times, is because of the role being based in the UK and predominantly focusing or representing residents in Barking and Dagenham, I need to make that the number one thing because they're the ones who I'm in this position because of them, and I need to serve them. But that being said, that doesn't mean I won't shy away from my heritage and shy away from the fact that my heritage plays an important part of my success. I speak about my parents, what they've done. They've grown up here. They've instilled a lot of those things inside of me that have kept me going. And also at the same time, I mean, I speak to a lot of my residents in Barking and Dagenham who are Nigerian and who have come out to say, we are proud to see one of our own serving the borough. So that balance is I'm trying to strike it, and I think I'm doing well. But as my term in office goes on, I will obviously make sure that, as I mentioned, when I'm putting on my events, my fundraisers, I'm making sure that I'm not just targeting the Nigerians, I'm targeting all, but also making it clear that I'm proud of my heritage, which I'm trying to do as much as I can. Hence why I'm even here in Nigeria to spend some time and be back
and have fun with us.
Have fun.
The grace of God is with you.
I look at you and I'm looking at women in general and women participation, because the girl child has always been plagued by many issues. A lot of girls do not believe in themselves that, okay, we can take the role. And the patriarchy in Africa has really entrenched in some of us that, oh, this is how far a woman can go in politics. What is the dynamics of that in the UK, basically, with female representation generally across board? Not just, I see that you are representing your borough as a woman of color, and you're young. So the dynamics of your life is really, you're like a dinosaur.
No, unicorn.
You're like a unicorn, actually, something really mysterious, like, oh, how? So what is your, general world perspective about women or girl child representation especially in politics.
And so, please let me also add, what challenges did you face? Because even if you had your mom holding your hand and you're following her footsteps, it wasn't a automatic win for you. So also speak in terms of the challenges and obstacles you faced as well.
So to touch upon your question, first of all, and I'm going to once again take it back to Barking and Dagenham. Right now, in Barking and Dagenham, there are a lot of systems that we've put in place to make sure that equality is there. So for instance, when we're putting candidates forward, to stand to become a councillor, we have rules whereby we say there must be at least one female candidate in place. Why we have to put those processes in place is because we know that females are usually outnumbered in spaces like politics, especially in the UK. So what I would say to that is, we understand that it's a problem, and therefore those processes are put in place to make sure that we can increase that diversity. Now, if we speak about Barking and Dagenham right now, in terms of the 51 councillors that we have a 50% split, which is good. Ooh. Yes, so 50% women, 50% male. And of the 50% women and male, we have, I would say, one of the most diverse councils in terms of representatives, which is great. But in other boroughs, I can't really speak to it because I don't sit on those councils. But what I do know is key is that we are trying to encourage more women to get into politics. There are a lot of, should I say, programs and initiatives that are funded by the government, so national government, to try and increase the participation of women into politics, which is something that I'm really in support of and going to be encouraging a lot more young women from my borough to join, because that support in terms of how you deal with pressure, how you balance life, working life, having a life and also being a politician, those are the kind of things that we need to support women in, because usually they see it very daunting stepping into spaces like politics, because you're usually out there in the limelight. It's a long hours sometimes, you're dealing with pressure, but we're building those kind of foundations to support women. Now, in terms of the obstacles, I would say the key obstacles that I've had to overcome is, number one, enabling people to really understand that it's not because of my mother why I'm here. So when I was elected, there was a news article that came out and said something along the lines of, she inherited the role. And I question mark that. Yes, my mother has been very instrumental in all that I've done, but I've also worked hard. And I'd say I'm here by merit. So that's one thing, that's one of the obstacles. Second one is just this ignorance. Oh, she's young, she can't do anything. She doesn't know what she's doing, she's inexperienced. So that's just the normal mindset of individuals, whereby they'll look at someone being very young and just think they cannot accomplish, or they don't have experience compared to someone who is maybe 50 years old. So that's another obstacle I've had to face. And the third one is just balancing the politics with my corporate role, with life, with making friendships, etc. That's also been a lot for me, because I mean, I'm young, I still want to go out, I still want to have friends, etc. And being able to balance that, but also enabling my friends and family to know that I'm on a mission, and for them to just hone in and support me as much as I can. So those are the key 3 areas, but I'm trying to navigate them as much as I can, and I take each day as it comes. 1 month into the role now as mayor.
1 month?
Yeah.
Only
1 month.
And you're wearing it so your shoulders don't look, you know, and you're wearing it so graciously.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
You have already inspired many, myself included, because when we have people like you on this table, I just question my existence, you know, at a certain age. Like, at 22, what was I doing? Do you know Ewa?
Is that beans?
Yeah.
That's what she was doing.
That's what I was buying
from people. So where in Nigeria are you basically like
from?
Where are your parents
from?
Okay, so my dad's from Lagos State and my mum is from Ogun State.
Wahala. Let's finish this question.
Anyway, so what I was trying to say is you've been an inspiration to many, and you know, when we hear about, you know, diaspora or international relationships, one thing that we're trying to do is, you know, find a way we can build a bridge. Right, so my question is, what role do you think that diaspora leaders like yourself, I like that, you are a diaspora leader, can play in building bridges, you know, between the UK and Nigeria, whether through policy, partnerships, or cultural diplomacy?
That's a good question. We hosted, so in Barking and Dagenham, we hosted Honourable Abike Dabiri. Yes, I need to get that correct. So we hosted her. It was 2 weeks prior to coming here, and obviously with her role being I know she deals with the
diversity.
Correct,
Yes.
yes. And it was really insightful having her there because I was able to pull together the community. A lot of Nigerians were actually present to welcome her into our borough. And these were some of the things that we were discussing in terms of with myself being the mayor, but also Nigerians who hold up leadership positions in the UK. How can that gap be bridged as much as we can? And I think it's just more in terms of starting those kind of conversations. So having someone like Abike, understanding what she's doing, what are some of the programs that we can set up in Barking and Dagenham to support Nigerians here who live in Nigeria and vice versa, and also making sure that we're trying to stay more inclined with what's happening back home. That's something I really need to work on myself, I would say.
Don't worry, we can help you.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, a new sister circle.
And so knowing what are some of the, I won't say struggles, but some of the holdbacks or obstacles that are taking place back home in Nigeria that I can put my thinking hat on and say, okay, I'm based here in the UK. This is what we can do. How can I help? So I think number one is that understanding, educating ourselves to know what it is we can do, how we can do it, and then connecting with the right people. So for me, I think this year, obviously having that meeting was super insightful, but not just having a meeting and it's done, following up, having those conversations, trying to do meet and greets, find out exactly what it is that Nigerians in Barking and Dagenham would love to see. Some of them have brilliant ideas. They want to go back home and invest. How can they invest? Where do they start from? If they invest, will they put money in Nigeria and they come to Nigeria and they can't find them? Like just trying to give them that reassurance. So for me, like I said, I need to, number one, educate myself much more because, I mean, I've been born and raised in the UK, so I wouldn't say I'm well versed in Nigerian politics per se or in Nigerian affairs, but educating myself and understanding that I've got to do a bit of that work myself, but then also trying to make those connections as quick as possible, especially with those people who are on ground and who understand and can help bridge those gaps.
We have a problem on this show, and the problem is that there's never enough time.
It's almost over.
But I think it's important to ask because you've emphasized that you are Madam Mayor for 1 year, but your political leanings and political journey started when you were 9. So a lot of people will be thinking, what next? And there's no way we can end this conversation without asking what next. You're 1 month in, it seems a little bit presumptuous, but you're 1 month in, but we need to know, and I don't think somebody like you will not start having formulations of plans.
I've been starting to think, but I don't think I can say what next yet, just because I need to still see how this year goes. I mean, I'm very positive. It started very well. We've got the committee and we've got great team that's supporting me in the UK. But doors may open, doors may not open, and therefore I need to navigate. Yes, I mean, for this year I had to take a step back out of my corporate role. So initially I was holding up the role as a councillor while working full-time in a tech company. I resigned earlier this year to just focus on this role. So who knows, am I going back into the corporate world? Am I going to carry on pursuing politics?
Can you still run for mayor again?
Yes, but not straight away because once again, the diversity, how it is in the boroughs, they want to enable other people to have that.
So that would classify as what we sort of call zoning, but not exactly in the same way. But that's a different conversation.
You know, I want to ask you, you know, now for me, you're a poster child for every young girl out there. My daughter particularly, she is so into leadership, and I'm like, I'm going to proudly like say, see someone you can just emulate and learn from. And I know that there's this layer, because us in Nigeria, we love our Nigerians in diaspora, especially people who are doing, you know, great things in their own spaces. So if Nigeria should just get a wave, maybe after you're done with everything you're doing and you're called to serve within our own polity, would it be something you could consider?
I would definitely look at considering it. I can't say definitely, but it's definitely something I would look
You're not closing the door?
I'm not closing the door at all.
Minister of Youth in Diaspora.
Wow.
One sentence, 30 seconds, because we have to go. What advice would you offer to young individuals, particularly those who are coming from minority backgrounds, who are looking to aspire to be in politics and affect change in their communities?
I would say set goals for yourself, whether short, medium and long-term goals. Believe in yourself, that's very important, and also get a great mentor. Mentorship is very important. You can never I mean, you can probably, but I would say mentorship is very important. So have a mentor, someone who believes in you, someone who supports you, and someone who knows where you're going and willing to hold your hand and take you there.
Does your mom ever tell you, if it was me, I wouldn't have done it this way?
Oh, yes. Yes, I still get that from her. Yes.
Fantastic.
You would have
Thank
made
you.
it, you would
Thank
make a
you.
brilliant lawyer.
Oh, wow.
Oh, you would.
But now she's helping to count money. And now she's helping to keep the ball working. She's young, she's grounded, and she's proof that legacy and leadership can go hand in hand. From navigating identity to breaking political ceilings, Councillor Princess Bright, Mayor of the London Borough of Barking and Dagenham, reminds us that representation isn't just about being seen, it's about serving with impact. And thank you so much for being our guest today. And that's it from the Jasiri table, where bold conversations meet bold women. Man, I like the way we start this week. Until next time, keep showing up, keep standing tall, and never underestimate the power of your story. We'll see you tomorrow.
And the Jebu girls are everywhere.